Hi, it's Nick Sadler of the Label Machine here, and on today's podcast, we have Ken Kobori, the CEO of Surf Music, a music marketplace for creators and buyers from around the world. He gives some incredible insight into how the music business works in the East, and in particular Japan, and we cover off how music creators can open up their music to Japan's bands and songwriters, including how much you can expect to make from these deals. If you have ever wanted to get your music into the East, this episode is for you.
You're listening to the Label Machine series, a podcast to inspire and help indie record labels and artists to build income streams for their music. I'm Nick Sadler, a music entrepreneur that has helped start and run multiple indie record labels. In this series, I'll be speaking with music industry leaders about their experience and the lessons they learned on how they both market and grow their music income.
Welcome to the Label Machine series, where we discuss with our guests how artists and record labels monetize their music. Today's guest is Ken Kobori. Ken is the CEO of Surf Music, which is a music marketplace for creators to pitch, place, and sell original music to buyers from around the world. He is an accomplished and successful songwriter and producer in Japan as the artist to Soul and achieving chart success with Story by AI. He has worked with legends such as Earth, Wind and Fire and Little Glee Monster, and is no stranger to startups, being the former executive of Breaker Inc. Ken, how are you today?
Very good. How are you, Nick? Nice to meet you.
I'm awesome. So first of all, before we jump in, the name Surf Music. Are you a surfer?
That's the funny thing. No, I am not. But everything, all the images that are related to the word surf is definitely happy, and I love the ocean, and also it's just surfing to find the right music for your artists and whatnot, and just all those analogies and put it all.
Oh, nice.
So. Yep.
I've heard there is a little bit of surf in Japan. I have not yet to experience. I've surfed in New Zealand and a little bit in Spain, but yeah.
Yes, there's definitely places in Japan. I've tried once. It wasn't very successful, but hopefully this version of surf will go better for me.
Awesome. So let's start off. Do you want to just give us a brief history of your sort of music career leading up to, where you are now as the CEO of Surf?
Yeah, sure. So, I graduated college up in Maine in 2002. Then I started working at Sony Music Studios that year, and I stayed there for a year and a half. When I realized, being an assistant engineer in a lot of big sessions, I could probably make music too, and just out of that whim, I've been playing jazz my whole life, saxophone, piano, and whatnot. So I felt I could do it, and then I was able to create 3 songs, bring it to Japan, and I got offered record deals as an artist, which I really didn't want to do. I wanted to really create for others. But, I got signed to Universal Music as an artist, never released because, didn't figure out what I wanted to do. But, in the meanwhile, I was producing a bunch of music while I was preparing for my own album, and one of them was IE's Story, which became the 7th most sang karaoke song in Japanese history now.
Wow.
Which is surprising. At the time, I was only 22 years old when this happened, and from there, I started producing a lot. A variety of different artists, Earth, Wind and Fire too, as you mentioned earlier, but a lot of the J-pop stuff, but just primarily working with major labels. And I was signed to a big management company at the time. And I stayed with there for maybe 10 years. It's my 20th year as a producer right now. But, really the whole surf concept came when I left my big management, and being a producer, being, locking myself in the studio, creating music every day, and really sucking at self-promotion. Really, it was hard to find new clientele to work with. The usual suspects will call me asking for songs. That was all good, of course. But I was like, what if I could just have a page where I could upload all the new music that's just, freshly made, and anybody from, any record label, publisher, management from the world could be able to choose my songs from the page at any time. So essentially, it was the original concept was like a digital management agency that could, basically. It was just a portal, this simple idea. We developed it into what we have right now, which is Surf Music, which is a B2B platform that connects anybody that makes music from around the world to record labels, publishers, and artists for exclusive placements. And we've divided it up into two different login portals. So the creators, when they log in, obviously they can't see other unreleased music from other producers due to security reasons. But our focus of the creators portal is community building. And as a producer, really, all these problems that I felt as a producer, I've tried to incorporate into the platform. So as a creator, meeting other creators to collaborate with, that was a very hard thing for me, especially, I mean, if you're very social and you could just DM anybody, and you could do that, great for you. But I wasn't one of those guys. I wasn't even on social media back then. So we've developed it so that it's a place where producers can meet other producers to collaborate. Our AI system being able to recommend you to collaborate with certain creators because your catalog of music is similar to someone else's, so forth and so on. That's the creators login, and for the buyers login, we wanted to make it more of a Microsoft Office, like it's like a business tool where they could basically be able to do their daily tasks without using 6 different apps and websites and this and that to accomplish it, using Surf Music to be able to search for music for their artists, and search for music for their artists and be able to connect with their team to get fast responses, being able to send out briefs on their own now. Also, being, all these, I was a director at Universal Music for about 2 years also. So I've realized, working in that space, how analog, a lot of the processes are. And so we try to streamline that to make that more efficient and also, create a more creative experience for the A&Rs and directors to be able to discover music and creators from around the world that they would have never been able to connect with without Surf Music.
Gotcha. So
Yeah.
let's keep it on the subject of Surf Music. Can you talk us through how the tech works from the creator's point of view, and from the signing on, and in particular, what I wanted to ask was, you said you want to build a community. How are you going to facilitate this around the challenges? You did mention, if they're not someone that can just DM someone, well, then how is this going to alleviate that issue if you still don't struggle to connect with people?
Okay, so let's start with the first question you asked about the onboarding process of creators. So if they go to www.discover.surf, they could either open an account as a buyer or a creator. So obviously we're talking about the creator. So click on the creator side. You have to answer a couple questions like, do you have a pub deal with any publishers? Do you have management, so forth and so on? What kind of genre of music do you do? And after that, it goes to the process where, your account is open and now it's time to upload your unreleased music onto the platform. So once there's a plus button on the right side, it's super easy. Once you click the plus side, you can either drag and drop all the files, a folder of songs from your desktop into there, or you could just, click, the finder comes up and you can select the folder you want to upload. And once you click OK, our AI will instantly start tagging all your songs. So from genre to BPM to mood to instruments, prominent instruments in the track, so forth and so on. And it'll also actually give you like an album cover, a template album cover, which you could change. And we have we have incorporated a photo database where you could choose different, album covers that you want, so forth and so on, to customize your page. After that's done, I think the main thing right now that we have to offer is that there's on the top page of the creator side, there's a whole bunch of briefs, song requests from record labels in Korea, US, and Japan as of right now, because these are the three primary markets we're launching at. And you can see the briefs, you can see the YouTube URL references of songs that they want to sound similar to. And if you find that anything in your catalog is similar, you can submit to these briefs. And essentially, like when you submit to these briefs, if your song is the closest to what they're looking for, based on the URL that the A&R has submitted, it will come on the top of the list, on the top half of the list of the playlist that the producer or the A&R sees when he opens his computer the next day or whatever. So so right now, like, these are, obviously, submissions to briefs is something that we could do, but at the same time, you can also now search for other producers within the platform that make similar music to you. And if you want to add them as a friend, you can send a friend request. If they do accept it, now you're able to chat with them. And probably a lot of people are thinking is like, okay, this creator from Japan is contacting me, doesn't speak English. How am I going to communicate with them? But we've torn down that barrier in a sense by incorporating a real-time translation chat into our service. So if you're an English speaker, just set it to English, and whatever you type out will be translated to whatever language the other person is set at, and whatever that other person types at, all you see is English. So it almost feels like you're talking to someone that speaks English. So so this real-time translation chat is our first step in really connecting creators together. And I think, later down the line, we have a lot of exciting new features that we'll be implementing to even increase that experience of connectivity and being able to collaborate remotely, so forth, all within Surf. So that is the process of the creator side.
So I mean, I've got a community, and they're from all around the world. Almost all West, probably. There is actually one guy in Japan, but he's an American in Japan. So I obviously want my members to collaborate and interact, and it's a real challenge. Like, you've got the tools there to do it, but how are you going to facilitate? Like, so someone does connect to me, so what? Like, what's the point, and what's your end goal? What are you hoping for these people to connect?
So we've already began this, but there's certain projects which I'm not allowed to say the names yet because their info hasn't been released. But there was one project that stemmed out from Japan where they wanted a track made. This company hired us, and everyone knows this company, but we had to sample a sound from one of their stores or whatnot and create a track. And from there, we sent out a competition within our producer networks for top lines and whatnot. And so basically the project stemmed from Japan. The track was made in Japan, in LA. The winner of the top line competition was actually an independent producer from Paris, and it was all recorded in LA with LA writers doing lyrics and this and that. And I think, without Surf, like, this connectivity and this cross region, cross cultural boundary wouldn't have been bridged. And I think, these are the types of, deals that we're really interested in facilitating, and being able to do something that no other company, I believe, can do this, especially us as a marketplace, not taking any royalties away from the creators, and really empowering the creators and trying to help them as best we can, just because, our business model is not based upon royalties that we make from creators by placing songs. Our business model is solely based on subscriptions right now. So I think, as long as we keep this up and we build our community and people really believing our mission statement of really empowering, bringing back power to the creators, bridging the East to the West, almost being the Robin Hood of the music industry. All these themes that we have internally that, we really want to spread our mission to the creator community.
Yeah. So, one of your missions is to connect the East and the West. Why
Yes.
is that?
I think, I think with the success of the Korean market, being able to penetrate the global markets and have, get number ones on the global, Billboard charts has really opened eyes of a lot of Asian, record labels, but artists too, saying that, I guess we can do this too if we do this, But the part with Japan, the hard part with Japan is that a lot of record label people, that work in labels in Japan do not speak English. And the business culture, the way that, royalties are handled, the publishing system is completely different. And Japan has its own unique system that has been going on for over 60 years now. And it's going to be tough to change it into global standards. But I think, we have been able to make successful placements. We've done over 16 placements now. We have 6 number ones in Japan in either singles or albums, and this was pre-launch. So, just being able to bring these creators that Japanese, labels wanted but couldn't really get. They didn't even have their contact info, and being able to record that with Japanese artists was a huge step. And I'm not saying that this never happens, but you do need to have an English speaker on your team to basically communicate with producers abroad. But as surf music, of course, yes, we are a tech company and a tech platform, but I believe half of our value lies in our staff that and the people behind it, and we're all musicians and we're multi cultural. Like, all of us are pretty much bilingual in London, New York, Tokyo, LA, and also in Korea. We have staffs there, and basically we're a 24-hour shop. Somebody will get back to you that knows what they're talking about the music industry and whatnot. And every single employee at Surf is either a creator or has worked at record labels, or has worked at the publishing side, the management side, even on the streaming side. So I think we have, a pretty broad vision of the different pillars of the music industry, and being able to connect the East to the West. Meaning, I think the biggest thing about that is actually getting Asian artists, songs that would be able to stand at par with, the top hits that have been released in the States. And the first obstacle, especially for Japan, was that they've never had access to this music. And there's a lot of stigmatism with you know with working with foreign producers from a Japanese A&R perspective. First being that, obviously, as I mentioned before, the language barrier, but also, the publishing system is completely different. In Japan, there's this thing called the lead publisher system, which is basically, the management of the artist as a publishing entity, and they, as the lead publisher, they like to take the whole 50% of the publishing from the publisher's cut. So they really don't want other publishers to come in on that side, on that 50% side. So and it's still this way.
So there's going to be a natural barrier, isn't it? No one's they're going to be like, why am I going to work
with
a publisher in America?
Exactly. And and so far it's been this way because in order for managements to survive in Japan being a completely domestic market, and they have no plans releasing it globally, they have to make money within this country. That's why, and it's not like, when you release it in the US it's global. It's when you release it in Japan, it only stays in Japan because the lyrics are in Japanese, a lot of it. So it doesn't really it before, people were thinking, okay, this is our market. Let's try to create as much value as we can, and basically create a sustainable ecosystem. But now that's being disrupted because a lot of Japanese artists right now want to go to the world. But working with the same, Japanese producers that do a lot of Japanese pop and this and that, like, is not going that music is not going to take them there. So I think right now it's been pretty surprising, being in this Japanese industry for 20 years. I've seen the different trends that come and go, but right now it's kind of, I think, creatively might be one of the most interesting times in Japanese music history, being that there's no one genre that's taking over. If you listen to the top 20 in Japan, you'll find rock, you'll find hip hop, you'll find city pop, you'll find you'll find all different kinds of genres, which you really don't see in many other regions. Like, in the stateside, if you listen to a lot of the Billboard Top 100, you could kind of tell, like, this is the genre that's really dominating and whatnot. But Japan is really interesting in that you really can't tell. But there is a strong fandom market here. CDs still do sell for idols and whatnot. We are the second biggest music industry in the world, and there's alternate ways of monetizing your music compared to any other part in the world. And I think one of the big factors is just the cultural difference.
Mm.
And in Japan, we go to karaoke. When we go out with friends and drinks, we after dinner, we a lot of people go to karaoke, and there's thousands and thousands of karaoke booths, where there's like hundreds of rooms in each building, and it's filled. Young people go there to sing, and old people too. But in the States, it's more of like a clubbing culture. You go out with your friends, you go to the club, and this and that. And it's a completely different you know um way of socializing. But this also, I think, um directs all the different streams of income that can be made, and the most profitable way to get your music out there and to earn royalties. It's going to be region based. So our goal is really to learn. Well, obviously we do know Japan, we do know Korea, we do know the States, but as we launch in emerging markets, I think there might be a certain level of education that needs to be done to our producers to get familiarized with the markets. And there's a lot of tasks we do have to do, but I still think our whole mission of bridging, whether it's east to west, or west to emerging markets in Asia, or wherever we place, our primary focus will be to educate the business cultures per region to our creators.
Gotcha. So a lot of questions still around this. So you
Mhm.
say unreleased music, and then you have the
Yes.
publish, because it sounds like because you've got the publishing locks. So if you do
Yep.
have a publisher or a manager, so let's say if you're in Japan and you're creating, you've got a manager, is this a more
Mhm.
difficult platform to use? And if I'm here in the UK and I've got a publishing deal, how does it
Yep.
work? What are the barriers, and how do we get around them?
So, as I said before, we are a marketplace, and we don't cut into any of the publishing or whatnot. So, the majority of the songs that we have placed, the writers have been signed to publishers, so UMP, SMP, so forth and so on. And when a song is when they choose a song, obviously we contact the publishers at Surf Music, telling them that these are the splits that are proposed with a
Yeah.
Japanese lyricist coming in, so forth and so on. And so, their publisher will literally contact Jazzrack to claim this is the percentage of the song that we'll be getting for our artists, and all that transaction is done between Jazzrack and say the Japanese sub publisher or the publisher in Japan.
Okay,
That
so
hasn't been a problem. Yeah.
gotcha. So I guess then why? I guess my question is more: why is there the focus on unreleased music?
Yes. Okay. So the market for licensing music, I feel, is oversaturated right now. There's many great companies that do this very well, but me being a producer that's only placed music exclusively my entire career, this was a solution that would help me as a producer that has a strong track record and whatnot. But I also believe like the whole exclusivity placement is will still continue no matter what. Like, obviously, the licensing side of music to use on your YouTube videos and so forth and so on, that's not going to disappear too. I think it's just another option for creators to be able to place an exclusive song with an artist that can take that song to the world. And it's
so yeah. So just for the listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you say an exclusive song, what you're saying is a placement. You're talking about, I think, is it a sync placement? So someone wants it for a car ad or something, and they want an exclusive piece of music that you make for them. And then that's different to, say, releasing music on a record label. Is that right?
Well, it's an exclusive placement is an exclusive placement. So we have done exclusive placements with brands where basically that brand is the only brand that could use this music. So it's an exclusive placement. So after that, we don't license it out to other companies to use it, because this is this company's song. And it's the exact same way to think of it as an artist in Japan is looking for songs for their new album. Obviously, in Japan, at least, they do not want to look for music that's been out there. They want something made like for them, for this album that nobody's ever heard before. So that's like the difference between, it's pretty similar in the sense that it's an exclusive. An exclusive really means that you cannot resell this song to have other people to use it, unless it's obviously released and there's the consent of the writers involved and the artists and so on, to put it on these licensing sites so that it's a secondary income to the song.
Gotcha. So yeah, so for exclusive means, hey, maybe I've produced a beat and a Japan singer is going to use it, and it's exclusively signed to them and going to come out on their album.
Yep.
I can't then go, oh, cool, upload this to BeatStars and have someone else license it. That's what the
yes, exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
Gotcha. So how are you getting buyers on board for the platform?
So for the buyer's side, we've actually right now is our onboarding season, if you want to call it that. But we've managed to get all the Japanese major labels using us and to agree to sign on as a paid subscriber on an annual basis. And our next step right now is really in Korea we have the five big the biggest record labels management companies using us right now. Also in the States, where our approach is going to be more on the indie side, I think, getting because the majors, they get the best songs in the world anyways. So in terms of song searching, I think they have that done. But like independent labels that don't have access to all this content would be are thrilled to use our platform, not only as a discovery tool, but also as a business tool to be able to organize all their music they've collected over the years that didn't make the cut. Suddenly now they put it on their page, and everything is tagged. And when they do you can just cut and paste a YouTube URL of the song you want it to sound like, and it'll find the closest match to that. So it's time saving and so forth and so on. But for the US strategy, we want to start off with the indie side, who do not have access to this global catalog of music, and see how it goes from there. But I think with buyers, it's all about relationships that we have. And for me, as a 20-year veteran doing this in Japan, I do know every single major label here. Our US team knows all the connections in the US. So it's basically, calling them up, calling your point person, being like, look, we have this new service we'd like you to use, giving a demo to them, and the corporates saying, yes, this is something that we want our employees to use. And then we move towards contracts and so forth and so on. So it's very manual.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's in a if I'm a creator, say based in the US
Mhm.
or the UK, and I'm looking to tap into connecting with artists in Korea and Japan, and I want to collab on them, this is going to be a great platform to jump on and do that.
Yes,
Now, how
definitely.
about
And yep.
sorry, and how about I'm a label, right? And so
Yes.
so hang on, I've got an existing catalog, so that's not going to kind of work because this needs to be exclusive. But
Mhm.
if I have if I've got a demo folder with all my artists and they're not doing anything, could I
Mhm.
facilitate those? And how would you see that working from a label's point of view?
Yeah. So what you're talking about right now is basically a creator being able to upload, or a management of a creator being able to upload unreleased music. And right now we are working with the writer management companies to create a portal where they're able to organize and to be able to pitch all their rosters, globally within one account. So, I mean, there's different solutions for business and also individuals. And so for our business, our creator side, this is something that, we'll be offering to publishing companies too, publishers also, to be able to put their roster of writers with unreleased music onto our platform. And we have placed numerous songs for publishers, on our platform. And, the whole process has been smooth. And, we're very confident that we are ready to scale. And thus, we are launching this week
Awesome.
on
So it's
the buyer side, on the
it's
creator side. Yep.
it's 2023. What is
Mhm.
in your opinion, so I'm listening to this and I'm like interested in going on, what kind of music, and I know you said it's a really creative time in Japan at the moment and it's all type of genres, but is there anyone that you would say is sticking out or at the moment for you, if you can?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it depends if they're a singer songwriter holding a guitar composing their own songs. There's that whole singer songwriter genre. But I think for groups, a lot of groups, with the success of BTS, Blackpink, and so forth, K-pop is definitely hot. And it's kind of like the I mean, they're pushing the boundaries of pop, and as long as it's popular, it's pop music, right? So you're like hyper pop. It's like a genre that's in right now. I mean, it's using abstract sounds to create pop songs, I guess. But I think with the connectivity that we have in 2023, all this information goes to the younger kids, so they're not just looking at what's on the Billboard Top 100 to listen to, but they're connecting with their communities to find new artists to listen to. And with streaming right now, it's less about who's the artist, but more about, oh, I know that song. because it's been played like, hundreds and hundreds of times, but I don't know who sings it. There's a lot of instances where it's kind of like song driven now rather than, back in the day when it was very artist driven. I think there's going to be a good balance of both. In Japan, obviously the idol market, the groups, the girl boy groups, those will never go away. I think, just because, with the success of BTS and the Korean groups right now, a lot of Japanese groups are like, maybe we can, go global. And it's Japan is known to be about 3 to 4 years late in the trends of music. And I think, our goal is to try and get that to be closer to real time of what's hitting in the world being relevant in Japan. And as I said before too, like we are a karaoke culture. So there is a demographics of listeners who would only like to listen to songs that they could sing at karaoke. And, a lot of the songs that are out there that are the Billboard Top 10, it'll be pretty boring to sing them in karaoke. Like, I don't want to say names. It wouldn't be the go-to. You know what I mean? So I think Japan. It's still very melody, like a strong melody line that people would enjoy singing in karaoke. It always does pretty well. But I think it's a good balance. Like we're kind of like a melting pot of the music industry. Yeah.
There are a lot of artists that I work with and I come across, and they are like young and they're like, what kind of music are you doing? And they're doing pop music, but they want to be independent. And I always kind of think, that's going to be a struggle because you sort of need to be on a major label to do pop style. So you don't have to, but it's a kind of tougher thing. Whereas I think something like this, if you're an independent artist and you want to write a pop style or hyper pop, like you were saying, well, this is going to allow you to connect with people that need that music and potentially, and work with them exclusively. So what sort of, hey, I'm listening to this. I'm like, hey, this sounds really cool. I do hyper pop, and I'm based in Belgium, and I sign up and I want to connect. What kind of numbers are we talking about for one of my tracks? I upload it. It's something they want for a K-pop or a girl band in Japan. It's going to go out their album. What number are we talking? Like $500? Are we talking $5,000? Are we talking $50,000?
So in Japan, the track fees, obviously, if we were talking in the majors, they range from around $2,000 to maybe up to $10,000, depending on your track record and whatnot. So, but also they're very, we try to be flexible, and us as, the marketplace, our job is not, to get the best deal for the record labels, but our job is to make sure that both parties are happy with the deal they get. So we don't at Surf Music, we don't propose, okay, how about this amount? We wait for the labels to be like, this is our budget. And we'll present that to the creators, and the creators will be like, that's a lot lower than what we usually work with. Maybe we could go in between, and then we bring it back to the labels, and they're like, okay, that's cool. But eventually, all this can be done. We'll be able, we'll be able to do this within the platform. But I think, in any great company, like the human aspect cannot be, forgotten. And our goal is to really build a lean team globally that knows the different pillars by heart, that can assist them and really give them the right information and be able to protect creators from being exploited, so forth and so on. So.
And there's a good point about being human led, and you do, and on the website you say you do curate stuff. How does an artist ensure that your curators are going to listen to their music and pitch it forward? Like, what are you looking for, or what can they do to make sure they're highlighted?
Well, I mean, for me, as like, for example, being in this industry for 20 years, I kind of know what they want. So I start making music knowing what they want. But my goal for Surf Music was to be able to make music I want and not care about whether this is going to be chosen in Japan or whatnot, but being able to make music that represents me right now as a creator, upload that onto my page, and from there, having the AI being able to automatically put it into playlists based on the URL references that are given out. So I think this what you can do is I honestly feel just try to, if you want a place in Korea, obviously do your research. Go listen to what's hot in Korea right now, and create something like that. If you're specific, if you're like set on a specific market, that's what I'd recommend. Make sure you know the history of hits of that country and where the trends are going. And these are kind of things that we will be highlighting on our platform too, per region, where if you want more information on a certain market, you click it, it'll give you the backstory of how music in this region works. And these are the top hits that were in 2023 so far. These are the previous hits, and you could go through the list and being able to listen to it and be like, okay, so this K-pop thing is basically combining four different songs into one song, and then you'll get the gist of it, of what it is. But I'd say, like, if you want to enter a certain market, obviously do your research, but at the same time, you feel free to reach out to us. And we've been, right now we have 600 of the world's top producers on our platform as early adopters, so close to 6,000 songs of unreleased music. And we've actually talked to every single one of them, had one-on-ones, seeing their vision of what they want us to help with, this, what areas in their craft that they need collaboration for or whatnot. Are they looking for more top liners? Are you a beat maker? Are you these are kind of conversations that, yes, they can click the boxes and hope that someone searches for them. But I think, we will continuously put effort into really contacting as many of these producers as we can, and try to, or if there's requests of to meet with us, we're more than happy to really meet and talk through like the career plan as a musician, whether you're part-time or full-time, it doesn't matter. But pretty much, how do you see your music career, the music segment of your career going, and how can we assist you? And I think these are very, very important conversations that we have. And also, speaking to the users will and give and them giving us advice on different features that they will like, and so forth and so on, really creates a sense that they are building this platform with us together. And we tell our creators all the time, if there's anything that you have, have in mind, new features or whatnot, please tell us. But we also tell the record labels too. Like, we've only put in what we feel as the surf team after, being experts in certain pillars of the industry. These are the things that we want solved. But I think, the most important thing is to have our users being happy with the whole experience and making their lives easier. So, more feedback, the better for us.
And if I log in as well, if I don't,
Yes.
if I only upload one song, for instance, am I correct in thinking that there's a list of music that singer-songwriters want, and I could listen to it? You said like there's a YouTube reference, and I could say, hey,
Yes.
and then I go, cool, they're looking for something like that, and then I can go into my studio, make something like that, and upload it. Is that like a part of the process?
Yes, of course, if you have music that is in your catalog already, I'd suggest you upload it right away so it gets tagged and it gets in the system, so it's available for pitching. And as you read briefs, some of these deadlines, you have a month until the deadline, until they close this. So I mean, you have time to make original music for certain briefs. Also, so I mean, there's different ways of working around it, but our goal is really for our AI to be able to suck out any kind of song that's uploaded, to be able to pitch it while the creator's asleep. As they they finish their song, they upload it to their account, they fall asleep, and while they're going to bed, our AI will constantly be pitching in different regions for different projects to try and get them that placement. And I think
it's more of a matching catalog thing rather than someone pitching for a brief. While that might happen, that's not necessarily the focus. And if someone, let's say someone goes, yep, they like my song, Kyrie's, and like, awesome. Are you finding that they just sort of go, yep, great, and we send the stems over? Or does it sort of turn into a bit more of a collaborative and they say, look, can you change this? Or we want a bass line written differently. Yeah. How has that worked with the existing placements you've done?
Very, very good question. I mean, the process is if they're interested in the song, they can click the hold request button on next to the song in our platform. And once they click that, a hold request card shows up. So basically you input the artist that you want to hold this for, add some website links to give the creator more information about this artist. And also there's a fee. If there's a certain budget that you can't go over, if it's $5,000, they can input that. Like we're thinking of the track fee to be around 5,000. And then there's also conditions. Like this is say for example, a domestic release with a commercial tie-up to this. Thus, the sync fees will be waived for 1 year while this campaign is going on. Because essentially in Japan, like sync fees, it's a different perspective that they have compared to the world. It's almost like we're playing your music for you to help promote it. So we should be able to use it for free. For newly released songs, of course. And once you get, legacy songs that have, that
is it,
that
can
are
I
hits
pay you
already.
in exposure dollars? It's a little bit like that.
Pretty much. I mean, it's really interesting. I get their point. It's like, it's free promotion for the artist. But, if you look at the global market, it's not like that. And I think, I don't, we are a marketplace. We're supposed to stay neutral, and I do want to stay as neutral as possible. But as a creator, I feel that, when my song is released and we're not collecting on sync fees in the beginning because it has some tie-up, there's two ways of viewing it. It's like you're getting an opportunity to open doors for you. And once the song hits, you'll be getting more work in Japan. Or it's kind of like, like I'm already established. Why don't I get sync fees? Like I don't need extra promotion, like I want it to be at the global standard. So these are discussions that are ongoing. And, we've been able to slowly but surely work in new ways that record labels before were not susceptible to. And a lot of it is to do with like, the lead publisher taking 50%. A writer comes in that's signed to UMP and UMP can't get into the publishing for the publishing side. That's like Japan is the only country that has this lead publishing system. And I think it's one of the topics that we will be discussing and educating our creators that are on our platform so that they know when directors ask for this, it's not like they're trying to rip you off or anything, but this is just basically how the Japanese music system has been. But there is room for change, and with the younger generations going up on the ladder and on the corporate ladder, they realize that in order to compete in the global market, like a lot of their old ways of doing business is not going to work. And we are here to really kind of like break that barrier and educate the Japanese buyers side, the record label side too, about how publishing works internationally besides Japan, because some directors don't know. I mean, it's just they work in a domestic market and they think this is the only way that publishing is handled. And so that's one of our big missions, is to really educate both buyers and the creators about each region that they plan to pitch in and whatnot.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yep.
So you're using AI to organize the music for both creators and buyers.
Yes.
How are you? How is the AI? Is it ChatGPT 3.5? And you're just saying, "Hey, here's all the music. Can you just organize it for us."
There is talks about incorporating ChatGPT like for our FAQs and whatnot that we can probly do.
I actually thought of an idea. I thought what you could use is when you were talking earlier about the artwork that would be great for your catalog, is if you could get Midjourney to listen to the music and create a unique piece of artwork for the music. That'd be kind of cool.
That if that's can that be done?
Yeah,
Listening to
totally.
just with
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
audio?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
that is
Like write
cool.
some code in Python, and yeah, anything's possible with AI. But going back aside
Uh,
from that idea, yeah,
uh
how are you? What's the technology you're using?
So we are using a third party API right now
Mhm.
that tags everything for us, and they're a very well known company, a respected company from Singapore called Museo, and you know, for our YouTube search for the URL, we're considering, you know, we are using Museo right now, but obviously we want to make sure we get the most accurate results, so we are testing um other companies. I'm not sure if I should be saying like company names.
No, I
Maybe
mean,
we have to.
I wouldn't worry about it too much. But just quickly, when you say searching for YouTube, in what way do you mean? Like, does someone,
So
yeah,
so
what would
so
sit
if
on?
you it so if you're looking for a song, say like Bruno Mars Uptown Funk, I'm looking for a song like that. You go to the YouTube page, you know, Bruno Mars Uptown Funk, cut and paste that URL and paste it into our search engine. And from there, it basically determines like, you know, 80 different data points on what makes Bruno Mars Uptown Funk, and it'll find songs that sound similar from the, you know, with the higher relevance on top, you know, coming first, and then like it'll get lower down to like 5%, 2% down as it goes down the list. But and you know, when they send out these when they do these searches, obviously, you know, they can get what's on the marketplace, but when A&Rs and directors creates briefs, one of the prerequisites to fill out a brief is URL references of songs you want it to sound like. The instant they click submit this brief, the system will automatically start a playlist from them, from the music that's on the platform. And obviously there might be, you know, 2 weeks period where where people could hand in songs. People keep on handing songs, and whatever that comes closer to that URL reference will come up on top. So it's like it saves so much time for you know, for record label people that are looking for a specific sound, but not having to, you know, listen through 300 songs, just 15 seconds of each, which is hours already, you know. But finding something, you know, having the AI being able to show you what's, you know, the songs that are closest to what you're envisioning.
Could your system work with SoundCloud, and you
Mhm.
do a partnership with SoundCloud in which they give you access to analyze all music that's tagged as unreleased, and then when someone puts in something from YouTube, it actually goes brrr, and then you could reach out to that creator on SoundCloud and go, "Hey, we found a match for you. If you're interested, we could kind of have on there." Would that be something that could
I
work
mean,
in the future?
as long as the person on SoundCloud uh, is not streaming this music on their page. If it's in their private, you know, like unpublished tracks, then it might be something that we can do. But at the same time, it's kind of like if they don't, it'll
But
be
if it,
going. There's a whole privacy issue of whether
right,
we're allowed to even search through. On, you know, like the creator doesn't want this song to be public, and us as as a platform being able to listen to their songs. That's going to be a lot of legal issues there, I
yeah.
think. But you know, I think
What?
what you're talking about makes sense. You
Yeah,
know,
because
and,
it just would open that it's going to solve the problem. You connect, ultimately you want to
yeah.
connect, the creators and the buyers. So just quickly, what is the difference between if I've got my music and it's not signed to a record label? I've just finished a piece of music, I upload it to SoundCloud, my followers and go, "Hey, what do you guys think?" It's nowhere else but SoundCloud. I haven't released it anywhere. I own the rights 100%. And then I went to your platform and I wanted to upload it. Why would that not be something? Why is it, if it's already up on SoundCloud and it's public, that is like not seen as, yeah, why is that a negative, I guess, or why is that unusable?
So in the States, it happens, you know, a lot of artists go to YouTube to find beats that they like,
Yeah.
and even though it's on YouTube, they'll be like, or beat stars, they'll be like, I want this. But Japan has been very, very um from my experience, like anything that has been heard before or streamed online, to them, it's almost like, oh, it's been released. And especially if it's on SoundCloud and if it's generating revenue already, whether it's AdSense or whatnot, technically that is a release in a sense if you're monetizing on it. But what the record labels, especially in Japan, are looking for is that exclusivity. So when they pay you the track fee, say like, okay, they like your song and they're paying you $5,000 for this track, they're basically saying, okay, this arrangement, this track, this instrumental is ours, only for us to use. And if anyone else wants to do a cover song, they could come afterwards and ask the publisher whether it's okay and reproduce another instrument and make a cover song out of it. So they've just been very
So you'd have to basically
the way
you'd have to
they
take the track
view
down. You'd have to take the track down off SoundCloud, essentially. If I was like, hey, you just had
pretty
1,000,
much. Yeah.
I go, great, I'm uploading it to your platform. I got to take it off SoundCloud, basically.
As of now, it is, but it does have a good. There also is a market where I think a lot of A&Rs in the stateside, they go to SoundCloud and look for what's popular there, and from there they basically take that song and say, okay, so and so in the U.S. is going to release it, and that becomes a mega hit. Like these kinds of stories do happen. So I think in the future, being able to access catalogs and really teach the Japanese side also that exclusive placements does not only mean this song was written just for this artist and it's only on the surf platform, but rather we can find you music. It might be streamed elsewhere or whatnot, but it hasn't been released by any big artist or whatnot, so these are still songs that can be used. I think these are conversations that they will be open to. But our whole concept of entering, especially as we launch this platform, is trying to be as frictionless as possible for record labels to be able to use it, with their current methods of business practices, and they're not trying to disrupt the industry overnight and be like, it's this or you can't get on our platform, but try to work with them to gradually push them towards and being okay with releasing music that has been streamed elsewhere, that hasn't been sung by a big artist, because that happens everywhere in the world, and it's very common. So your question about that is definitely relevant, and these are some things that we are thinking of also internally. But for now, just to we don't want the Japanese record labels to come suing us saying that you said it wasn't released, but we find it on SoundCloud.
Yeah. So you've I know in your career as well, you've helped out a lot of artists, helped out a lot with their careers. What are some rookie mistakes or common problems you've seen over and over again that these new or early career artists make?
I think, the lack of knowledge about the business. And this is one of my biggest regrets when I first came in signing on to a big management company. All I had to do was make music. And they were like, don't worry about the rest. We got you. And, several years down the road, you open the box and you're like, wait, but it is my fault, essentially, because I don't trust anyone and really learn the industry that you're placing in, and use surf to get educated on different different practices regionally if you're going to be placing songs there. And I think that's my best advice in business terms. It's make sure you understand every aspect of the music placement industry, how publishing works. If a lot of people approach U.S. Writers saying that they have been into Japan, will place your song in Japan, they'll take 20-30% as a brokerage fee. Like, these things happen all the time, but what this essentially does is the broker would raise the price to the record label, so they'll get a bigger cut of it, and they'll be taking from the creator side too. So record labels are overpaying for songs, and creators aren't getting all the royalties there that are meant to be paid out to them. But they're relying on other people to do this for them. But our goal as Surf Music is to create a transparent platform where we could connect them and also protect them and educate them so that they don't get into any bad deals moving forward and starting their career.
Are you saying that some people will go, let's say, yeah, well, cool, we got your track. If it's $3,000, we take 30%, so we're taking $1,000. And I go, okay, cool. So I'm getting $2,000 of the $3,000. And they go, yeah. And then they go to a label and they go, hey, we got this track. It's $10,000 for you. And then the label goes, okay, cool. Yeah. And then they're taking like $6,000 or $7,000. No, it'd be $8,000 off the top. That's insane.
Yeah. But it happens everywhere. It's basically, music is art. And whatever the price that you tell the labels is pretty much your price. But at the same time, you need to be able to back that up. Like if it's a brand new artist that hasn't made any placements and you're asking for 10,000 for a track fee, the record label is not stupid either. They'll be like, why is it so high? So I think if for placements with bigger artists that have track records and you have these top, global acts under your belt, that's your price obviously goes up. And these brokers, they're obviously trying to connect the East to the West, but they need to find a way to make a living too. So I'm not trying to diss or bash any of these brokers trying to do their jobs, but once a platform like us comes in and basically we is complete transparency and we connect them directly, we don't take from the creator, we don't inflate prices to the record labels. I think creators will see us as their right option to try in entering new markets, because we have people, like actual people in every market that we're releasing at, that know the industry, the local practices there, and that are bilingual, that speak English and whatever language that they speak in their region. Pretty much all our meetings, global meetings, are in English. Everyone speaks English. And we just want to make sure that we are there to help creators, and also help record labels being able to afford this music that before with a broker they would have never been able to afford. It wouldn't have fit their budget. Yeah,
gotcha. So I'm just gonna ask you one more question, because I always like to ask this around music trend questions as well, and it'd be really interesting hearing from what it's like in the East. So with record sales, in your experience, where are you finding royalties are coming from between the major platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, or others? Like, where do most of those royalties come from in the East?
Well, speaking of Japan, as I said, I wrote a karaoke hit song when I was very young. And the payouts, basically there's millions of karaoke rooms in Japan, right? And if your song is sang at the karaoke booth one time, it's about around 2 to 7 cents per play, which is completely different from the $0.004 that you get per stream. Yeah. So if you create a karaoke hit, basically you have sustainable income throughout the year as long as people continue to sing it. And for my case, it's one of the biggest wedding songs. So when wedding season comes up, it's like Mariah Carey's, Christmas song. In Christmas, she gets a big fat check every single year. But it's the same in Japan. Like if you make a graduation song right around graduation season, every single year, if it's a hit song, you'll see a boost in royalties. And these numbers aren't, it's pretty sustainable. I say if you get a big hit song, generating karaoke royalties, 100,000 US a year is very normal to be able to collect, and that being continuous and plateauing at one point. Unlike the fast music of the world, that once it's not popular anymore, people forget about it. Japanese, and Asian countries, with karaoke being there, you're only gonna sing a song and it's probably gonna be an older song. Like unless you're practicing the new songs that are coming out and ready to sing it, it's probably gonna be an older song. So there's a lot like longevity, I think, of songs in general that, and especially in Asia, like, karaoke is really huge key factor to consider when placing your song, even if the track fees aren't as high as you get in the States. If you think of it long run, 60 years after you die, royalties still coming in. I think, this is definitely, Japan and the Asian markets are definitely markets that you can't ignore. And I encourage anybody that makes music to really sign up to Surf, so that let us connect you with the right people in Asia, to get your songs placed and give you other options for song placements. And by no means are we exclusive. Just because you put on Surf Music doesn't mean that we're like your publisher and you can't pitch elsewhere. Use us as a tool, and if you place music elsewhere, just make sure if anything is placed, just take it down from the platform, and that's all we ask. And obviously, I think there's great things, the great features that we're planning on adding throughout this, Q2, Q3, Q4 this year that I'd love to elaborate on, but until it's done, I don't really want to talk about it. So
I'm the same way about new stuff. I'm the same way. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, if you are listening, and you've got some unreleased music and you want to break into these markets, do go and hit up discover.surf. If you just Google discover.surf, it'll come straight up. Front page, there's a creator link. Click on that. I would love to see, I think what would be really cool is, you mentioned a competition before. I think some competitions where it's write some music for the band that's in Japan, but it's someone from West. I think that would be really cool. And I asked about the challenges of getting your community to talk to each other. I think that'd be a really great, trigger for that to happen. It'd be awesome seeing some more of that. I'm probably speaking ahead, and I'm sure you've got stuff like that lined up, like you said, but you don't want to mention it. So it'd be awesome to see that. For anything, is there, sorry, where can, apart from discover.surf, where else can people find you online, and where can people follow you, Ken, as well?
Well, discover.surf. We have an Instagram account. We have a Twitter account. You can find us there. If you want to find me, I guess on Instagram, it's KenKob0903. That's my personal account, but there's a discover.surf account also. So, we're all over the place. And, lastly, what I want to say is that, we are a platform just not for music professionals also, but from any age. And a good example I like to give is, my 6-year-old son has already made 3 songs just using loops. And, Sony was actually interested in one of their songs. And when they heard it was a 6-year-old making it, they're like, we don't believe you. And that's the thing. It's like the age making group, the demographics of music creators is getting younger and younger because samples are more accessible. They don't need to be played instruments to be able to make these songs. And once your kid, your elementary school kid makes a great beat, right? What are the options right now for them to do? Like, put it up on SoundCloud, share it with their friends and family, maybe put it up on YouTube. But the parents aren't going to go shopping for a publishing deal or a record deal for their kids. For every kid that makes music. But an easy solution is open a page with us. And we really want to focus on music education too, and being able to support the next generation of music creators and being able to educate them, connect them with mentors that could actually, teach them more about the industry, and also, hone their craft in music making. So, we just want to, like, we are obviously for the creators, but, part-time music makers are welcome. Kids are welcome. People that have retired, from their job are welcome. Anybody who makes music in this world is welcome.
Awesome. That's great. So, if you want to connect your music, go along and sign up. I want to say thank you for your time again, Ken. That was really insightful, especially into that kind of world of how the music works in the East and Japan as well. Thank you again, and
Thank you.
good luck with the good luck with the startup and the launch.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, Nick.